Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to In Case You Missed It, where I look at one or two events that happened during the day that you might have missed because you're so busy during your day. I fill you in, and I also provide additional commentary. So here we go, couple items today, and for this, I actually brought in a special instrument to help me with this first story. Well, you can't really see it. It's the world's smallest violin. I'm using it for this story. White House reporters fume over off-camera briefings. And, well, let me just play my little sad song here. Well, you can't hear it. Damn, I dropped the violin. Well, that's it. No more music for today. And you couldn't hear it anyways because it's the world's smallest violin. And as the world's smallest violin, obviously, it's not very loud. So I'm going to have to perhaps get an electric world's smallest violin. But let's just go on anyway. So White House reporters fume over off-camera briefings. And what these reporters are fuming over is that the White House is no longer, or not as often as they used to, holding on-camera press briefings. And so the reporters don't get any camera time, and they don't get to, I guess, put Sean Spicer or Sarah Huckabee on the hot seat and watch them be frustrated as they get the same questions asked of them over and over and over and over again. So without the cameras, they're just going to have to be reporters, and that is really sad that they're going to have to be reporters. But since they are, and they've obviously forgotten how to be reporters, I have something to help them. A special device, not as dramatic as the world's smallest violin, but it'll help reporters do their job. And here it is. Actually, two things, okay? Pen, paper. See, that's paper here. And what you do is you're off camera, so you don't have a camera recording the questions and the answers. So what you do is you ask your questions, and you can even write them down. Then Sean Spicer or Sarah Huckabee, they give you the answer, and you take your pen, you write down the answer. Now, I understand this causes a problem if you're a reporter that loves to grandstand in front of the cameras and love to just go back and forth and berate somebody by asking the same questions over and over again. That's kind of hard to do in writing. I mean, just to write the same question over and over again and to write the same answer over and over again. You can if you want to, but basically all you can do is just write the question and then write the answer. What's wrong with that? Get used to writing and being reporters. Again, if you want to take a photograph, take a photograph, but that's the way it's always been done, and it's supposed to be about the questions and the answers, and it's not about the so-called reporter. And if you really want to harass the press secretary or the assistant press secretary, then you can do that in writing too. Just write down, I asked the question repeatedly and the press secretary did not answer to my satisfaction. Or if they give an answer that does not meet your requirements for an answer, just write what they said and let us, the reader, the viewer, the listener, decide whether the answer was satisfactory or not. Just try being reporters again. Journalism 101. Crazy idea, who knows? It just might work. There we go. I gave the reporters all the help I can. If they don't want to take my advice, nothing I can do about it. Oh, and perhaps the reason that they're not holding these on-camera press briefings anymore, could it be because of this video that I'm going to link to from Project Veritas, and you may have read about it, but if you haven't seen the video, gotta watch the whole video. It's maybe 8 minutes, and there's more to come. This is just part one. But you have John Bonifield is his name, and he's a producer at CNN, and you have him on camera admitting that they've been reporting this Russia story practically since Donald Trump took the oath of office, and he admits that there's no evidence of any actual Russian collusion. He just frankly admits that it's, well, he doesn't use the initials, BS, he uses the actual word, but he comes out and says it. And he also says that the reason that they keep bearing down on this story is because it gets good ratings. He admits that CNN and reporting and journalism today is just a business, and they'll go with a narrative if it gets the views and gets the ratings over actual facts that people have to know. He also comes out and admits right on camera that CNN's audience is overwhelmingly liberal, and that if CNN had given Obama the same scrutiny that they're giving Donald Trump, they would lose viewers. To me, this is better than an on-camera White House briefing, or even actually an off-camera White House briefing. A CNN producer admitting on camera what they're doing, which is to report narratives to get ratings and without any regard to the facts. Okay, second story, which is healthcare. McConnell delays vote on Senate's Obamacare overhaul bill. And the reason for the delay is that you have 5 senators that are refusing to vote for the bill right now, the one that's being debated and put together in the Senate. The problem is, you have on the one side the conservatives that the bill does not do enough to keep the promise of repealing Obamacare. And then on the other side, you have moderates such as Susan Collins, and they have a problem because the bill goes too far in keeping the promise to repeal Obamacare. So we'll see what happens in 2018 if they don't do anything, but I have a feeling that that's going to pressure them into doing something sooner or later. One of the sticking points, and this is the main point that I want to get to today, is that the support, well, here, I'll just read this one article. I'm going to link to it, the one I just read the headline from. Quote, support further dwindled Monday after a financial analysis by the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projected that 22 million more Americans would be uninsured by 2026 if the measure replaces Obamacare, unquote. That's one of the more honest quotes that I've read about the CBO estimate. Here's a quote that's more typical, and I'm going to link to this. I link to all these articles so that you can read them in their entirety if you want to. If your life is so dull that you want to read these stories all the way through. Anyways, quote, the House's American Health Care Act was expected to cost 23 million Americans health coverage by the end of 10 years, unquote. They're talking about the House bill, but the same thing about the Senate bill, and they use words like cost people health care, lose health care. Here is, I'm linking to the actual CBO estimate, so you can read the actual estimate, but here's the quote that I want to give you. Quote, CBO and JCT, that's the Joint Committee on Taxation, estimate that in 2018, 15 million more people would be uninsured under this legislation than under current law, primarily because the penalty for not having insurance would be eliminated, unquote. So, yeah, people are going to be uninsured because if you take away the penalty and you don't force them to buy insurance that they don't want, then they're not going to buy it, and they're going to be uninsured because they didn't buy the insurance that they didn't want in the first place. Supposedly, this is bad, and I guess it is if you're a central planner, but that's not what Republicans are supposed to be. They're supposed to be individual freedom people, and you shouldn't have to buy insurance that you don't want. And one of the problems with Obamacare is that there is only one type of insurance, the so-called comprehensive policy. So if you have to have insurance, you have a choice of 5 plans, and it's got to be those 5 plans. One of those 5, and there's a minimum that all of those plans must have. So when they say that people wouldn't have insurance, one of the reasons is because you're not providing insurance that they necessarily want. For instance, as you may have noticed, even in this day of multiple genders, and pick what you want. I have, just checking between my legs here. Yeah, I'm a man, I'm a male. So, yeah, for sure. Just checked again, just want to be sure. And I don't need mammograms, and I don't need breast cancer coverage. There's a lot of coverage that I'm not going to need. I do need prostate cancer coverage, but a woman doesn't need that. And even an older woman who's gone through menopause, she doesn't need pregnancy coverage and prenatal care. So if you don't need those things, you shouldn't have to pay for them. And the problem with the CBO estimate is they say that if you could choose the type of insurance you want, people would not choose this comprehensive coverage that covers things that you don't need, and they count that as not being covered at all. If you want a catastrophic policy, which is what I had, and I loved it, it just covered me for major illnesses. It was a lot cheaper, and the money that I wasn't spending on the insurance, I was putting into a health savings account, and the money was piling up year after year after year. And when Obamacare came in, I got the letter that canceled the insurance I was promised I could keep, and then that was it. No more health savings account. I could not put money into a health savings account anymore, and I was not happy about that. But getting to the bottom line of the CBO estimate is this simple question: how many people will be uninsured if Obamacare collapses? And finally, when is somebody going to stand up to the CBO, to the Congressional Budget Office? Because they get it wrong repeatedly. CBO gets Obamacare reform estimates wrong again. And this is written by Diana Fergat Roth, and she's a former chief economist at the U.S. Department of Labor. So she knows what she's talking about, okay? In 2013, CBO predicted that 24 million people would be on the exchanges in 2017. Today, what's the actual number? They predicted 24 million, and the true number is 9.5 million. They're off by more than 100%. So if you're going to use a CBO estimate, you got to have a fudge factor there, and you got to say that if they say 22 million aren't going to have insurance, then, well, in fairness, it could be off. It could be 44 million or more, or it could be zero. That's how off their numbers are. That's how inaccurate their numbers are or have been proven on Obamacare so far. So why should you believe them? Why should you go by that number going forward in deciding whether you're going to vote for the Republican plan or not? And especially since I already showed the basis for these numbers that they come up with, as wrong as they almost certainly are, that's bogus too. So I hope somebody in Congress listens to this, and that gets to my very final point that I want to make here. If you like this video and if you think it has useful information, then if you could share it with somebody, that would be really nice. And if you could share it with a congressman or a senator, even better. And if you're watching this, Ivanka, or if you know Ivanka, or Jared, or anybody in the Trump family, pass this along to them, and maybe they'll get them to the president himself, and the world will be saved, and healthcare will be saved, and the world will be a much better place. But in the meantime, I'll just have to struggle on trying to make the world a better place myself. It's a big job, but I'm going to do it, and that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more commentary on more news in case you missed it.